Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to My Deep Guide, and I'm really happy today to present you with a new product that I am now launching on mydeepguide.com/shop. And the product in question is MDG Curated Templates Volume 1 collection. This is something that was in the back of my head for a long time, and it actually took quite a bit of work to perfect it and to get it to exact specifications that I wanted this product to be. So not just like, oh, here you go, something a little bit more, something a bit more My Deep Guide-ish. So why these templates and what makes them different? These are the built-in templates on the Books platform. Here I have on the right-hand side 10.3-inch 300 ppi Books Go 10.3, and here we have Books Note Max, also 300 ppi, but it has a screen of 13.3 inches. Both are using the same type of a template that you have, which is called line 20, and unfortunately it's not the number of lines that people who write are looking for, it's the line spacing. And that aspect of consistent line spacing across devices of different sizes, that is something that we do not have. So that was the primary aspect and the primary problem that I had, because as soon as I got Note Max, and I absolutely adore this device and it's become my daily driver to the max, no pun intended, because it has become the single most used and versatile e-ink device that I have ever owned. And then that issue was basically simply amplified, and I needed to remedy that. So the line spacing problem, if I write here, it feels okay, but the moment you go to here, the line spacing, because it's still doing 20 lines but across a much larger screen area, that line spacing has increased dramatically, and therefore your writing habit, your physical writing habit, changes. And to me, that was also introducing this kind of strange thing of a bit of a disconnect from the device. It didn't feel like a notebook, it felt like writing on a device that has this kind of strange sizing. I didn't like that, I didn't want it, so I needed to fix that. Hence the My Deep Guide Curated Templates Volume 1 collection. And you can see the difference immediately. This is my development notes while I was working on these and collecting all the data and doing the back and forth testing and, you know, perfecting it and fixing things and all that kind of stuff. But here's an interesting moment for me. This page, I still didn't have the templates nailed down, and I was still using the built-in templates. So these are the lines that I have. And then the next page, I suddenly have my own template, and now the whole tablet for me, the surprising thing was that when I introduced the standardized line spacing, my brain started to perceive this no longer as a device that I'm writing on, but actually as a notebook. So what makes these templates different and special? Well, number one thing was the line spacing specification, and after quite a bit of research, I narrowed it down to exactly 8 millimeters. While there are several different standards that are kind of meandering around the 8 millimeters, so a little bit above, a little bit under, depending on geographical regions and standards that you're using. Generally accepted standard of line spacing for different types of uses is at 8 millimeters, which is also very convenient because the grid spacing that quite a lot of people have started to adopt as a much better one is shifting from 5 millimeter to 4 millimeter grid standard, which is also what has been included in this collection. So the first advantage of MDG templates is physical size standardization, and the templates have been made so that when you use the correct template for your correct device, it will reflect the 8 millimeter line spacing or 4 millimeter grid size for grid versions of the templates. This standardization not only gives you more lines to write on a larger device, for example, like the Note Max. This is the densest built-in template that you had with some random arbitrary scaled type of line spacing. And when you actually switch to the MDG lined template for this device. You can see that along with, of course, obviously more lines and more content being able to be written on a per page basis on a device like this, but furthermore, brains of people who are used to notebooks and the perception is used to this type of spacing. And then something profoundly strange happens, which is when I'm looking and writing on a template like this, where the spacing is alien or unfamiliar to me, I feel like I'm writing on a device. The moment when I switch to a familiar looking template, my brain switches to, oh, I'm writing on a notebook, and the overall impression is far more pleasant. Another extremely important aspect that is also lacking in factory built-in templates across the board, across different platforms, is that none of them are pixel perfect and all of them are scaled to some degree. This introduces inconsistencies, visual inconsistencies and imperfections that are distracting and unpleasant to work with. So for example, we have the same type of template that's on both of these devices, and you can see that the line rendering here is fairly consistent, but there's some of the lines are a little bit darker, some of the lines are a little bit paler. Well, on the Go 10.3, that difference becomes even more pronounced, where you have somewhat darker, pale, pale, dark, dark, pale, 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 dark, very dark, pale, pale, dark. Across the board, when you scan a page like this with your eyeballs, you see segments, because you have a segment between the darker ones, definitely not a page. The accuracy of the template is gone. And all of these things combined equal not such a great time if you are a person who values writing on notebooks and those types of formats. And here you can see the direct comparison and the direct result of that pixel perfect methodology and specification for the mydeepguide curated templates. These lines across the entire device, and for each of the devices, when you're using the correct templates for the correct size, each of the lines will always be of the same exact pixel size with pixel perfect placement, and that results in perfect equality and uniformity across the entire screen, thus eliminating any kind of segmentations, distractions, or anything like that. So what types of templates are contained in the mydeepguide Curated Templates Volume 1? Well, there's quite a few. We start with the Cornell Notes variations, and this is a standardized Cornell Notes where you have your 2-3 lines available at the top for your title details, the date, or whatever it is that you want. And then you have, of course, key points, notes, and the summary sections there. As far as Cornell Notes go, we have the blank version, then you have the dotted matrix version, 4mm spacing standard, and you have two dotted versions. There's one with the small dots and one with slightly larger and more thicker dots, depending on what style you like. Same thing here, we have the grid style of Cornell Notes, and the grid styles you also have two types, with slightly paler grid and then with a slightly more starker and stronger grid lines. Then we naturally go to the lined, and the line standard is across the board, of course, 8mm. Then we go to the dot grid, which also again contains two versions of the dots, so smaller dots and then a larger dot matrix, along with the grid matrix, which is full page, 4mm, starting from the upper left corner. So that's where the first square is. This is grid 1 template, which is a bit paler, and then you have a bit more stronger grid 2 version as well. Then we get to the lined templates, and line templates we're starting with the narrow one, and it's going to be the same thing between narrow and wide, except that the wide will have the lines extending all the way throughout the entirety of the width of the screen. Line spacing is precisely at 8mm, and you have the full page version, in this case narrow. Then you have the full page version with the margin on the side. Then you have the full page version with the margin and a title, and the full page without the margin and the title. And then we have the same kind of thing, but with the wide section. So wide, wide with margin, margin and title, and wide with the title. So you get a total of 18 templates in this volume 1 package of MDG Curated Templates. But that's not all, because you also get in the same packaging included all of the 18 versions in landscape format as well. And again, they were made with the same type of attention to detail and precision, so that you have the same exact 4mm grids, 8mm line spacing, and pixel perfect distribution of the graphics, so that you can actually enjoy them no matter what your specifications and preferences are. In order to achieve that pixel perfect and physical size spacing of lines and grids, these templates have to adhere to very specific specifications of different types of devices. Most importantly, it would be the PPI and the screen size. While you can use the 300 PPI 13.3 version on any device, only on the devices that have these exact specifications, so for example Note Max, will you have the absolute perfect results as intended to have. If you use that template on a smaller device, then of course it's going to be denser, meaning that line spacing is going to be less than 8mm. So for which types of devices will you be able to buy the MDG Curated Templates Volume 1 collection? Well, these are the ones that are supported, and I try to include as many as I can. But of course, each one is going to be a separate pack. We have the 207 PPI for 13.3-inch devices, which basically covers most of the 13.3-inch devices up until the Note Max was released. So any of the older Books Max series of devices would fall into that category, such as Max 3, Lumi 1, Lumi 2, Tab X, but also Quaderno A4, for example, would fall in that category and would need to use this type of template. Obviously, we've already covered the 13.3-inch 300 PPI for the Note Max. When we're talking about the 10.3-inch devices, we have two versions, the 227 PPI, and there's also the 300 PPI version. So the 227 10.3-inch would be for majority of older 10.3-inch e-ink devices, such as Super Note A5X, the original one, Note Air 2, Note Air 3, non-C version, because the C version is going to be 300 PPI, and if we're going to the 300 PPI, that would be also Go 10.3, etc. Then we have the 7-inch 300 PPI, then the 8-inch 300 PPI for devices like AI Paper Mini, and now the newly released iFlyTech, AI Note Air 2. Then we have a bigger category, 7.8-inch 300 PPI, and that's basically most of the 7.8-inch devices that have been released throughout the whole timeline. And then there's another special case here with the 10.65-inch 300 PPI screen, which currently, to my knowledge, the most popular devices that use this type of screen and screen size are the Supernote Manta and the AI Paper. So if the device that you're using is falling into one of these categories, and the likelihood is high that it does, then you will be able to use and enjoy the pixel perfect representation, uniformity, clarity, precision, and correct physical size on your device, so that it actually feels like a notebook and not like something different. In order to use MDG Curated Templates on your device, you first have to make sure of two very important things. The most important one is whether or not the device that you're using supports adding custom templates in notebooks. So for example, Remarkable, Kindle, and Kobo, they do not have native support for adding and using custom templates in notebooks. Therefore, these devices are not officially supported, although there are workarounds for all of these platforms that you could do, but it's not for the faint of heart, and it's not a permanent solution, and it's really fiddly, and after each update you would have to fiddle around again, so it's not really a long-term solution. Therefore, they're not officially supported. Kobo and Kindle, to the best of my knowledge at the moment of making this video, don't have in plan adding the option of including custom templates in their notebooks. Remarkable, however, does have remarkable methods which does allow that, and I am in the process of negotiating and having a conversation with Remarkable to see if I can have the curated templates added to the Remarkable Methods platform, and once that happens, then Remarkable users will also be able to use them, but not until that happens. So the first consideration, most important one, whether or not your device is able to use custom templates in the notebook. Number two, you need to determine which type of custom templates are the right fit for your device. MyDeepGuide Curated Templates Volume 1 are now available on the mydeepguide.com/shop, and if you go there you can see that I've organized the shop in 2 different categories, so now you can choose easily between planners and workbooks, between, for example, My Daily Organizer and My Deep Guide Meeting Planner, which are hyperlinked PDF file workbooks, and then you have templates, which are the, of course, MyDeepGuide Curated Templates, and these are templates that you can apply on your notebooks. And you can see all 8 packages available here. So 10.3 inch for 227 ppi devices, 10.3 inch with 300 ppi devices, 10.7 inch, which is for AI Paper and Supernote Manta. Then we have 13.3 inch, 300 and 207 ppi. We got the 7.8 inch version, 8 inch version, and the 7 inch version. A logical question will arise: how do you choose which template is the right one for you? Well, it's actually quite easy, because you can simply click on the product here, and when you open up the product page, one of the first things that you will see is basically supported devices, and this will give you like a generally good idea of what you are looking for. So basically all you need is to confirm the specifications of the device that you're using, and you need the screen size, in this case that is 10.3 inches, and then you see the screen resolution or the screen density resolution, which is indicated in ppi or sometimes in dpi, so pixel per inch or dots per inch. So those are the 2 informations that you need, and when you have your screen size and screen resolution, then you will know which is the right template pack for you. All right, so you've determined that your device is able to use custom templates in notebooks, and you've collected the screen size and the screen resolution of your device, and now with these 2 information in hand, you know if the MDG Curated Templates is the product that you can use on your device, and which version of the 8 packs offered on mydeepguide.com/shop is the right fit for your device. While you're on the product page, there are a couple of important things also to keep in mind. First one is prices are in US dollars using a comma decimal separator standard. The second one, which is also important, is that none of these templates are compatible with any of the Remarkable tablets, and this is going to be shown prominently on all of the products. Additionally, you have the bulk ordering type of a discount. So if you buy 2 different template packs, you will get 15% off. If you buy 3 or 4 template packs, you will get 20% off, and if you buy 5 packs or more, you will get 30% off. Discounts are applied automatically at checkout. However, if you do encounter some kind of an issue, please don't hesitate to contact me directly and I will resolve that issue for you. And finally, the most important aspect here is also the naming legend, and it is important to just familiarize yourself with this, because it will make it easier for you to understand which template is which. So the names of the templates follow this convention. They start with the PPI code, then we have orientation, then we have template type, and then we have the variation. So what does that mean? Well, that means that in reality, for example, let's check out the 207 _L line NMT. What does that mean? Well, following the naming legend, it's easy to understand. So 207 is the PPI code, and that means that this is a template that's intended for 13.3 inch devices that have 207 ppi screen resolution. So from the very first naming element, you know for which type of a device this template is for. Then we have L, which follows the orientation. So in this case, P for portrait, L for landscape. So this is a landscape variation. And then what do we have here? Well, we have a line. So what type of line types do we have? NMT. What does that mean? Well, we have N for narrow, NM, narrow and margin, NMT, the one that we're looking for, narrow with margin and a title. Then we have NT for narrow and title, W for wide, and the same variations for the wide, WM, WMT, WT. And another noteworthy variation type is for the grid types, 207P.2. Then we have the same type of screen, portrait mode .2. What does that mean? Well, that means that we have a dot grid which is using medium dots. So dot 1, small dots, dot 2, medium dots. Similarly, for grid 1, we have a pale grid, and for grid 2, you have a strong grid variation. Getting familiar with the naming legend for MDG Curated Templates is an important step, and it is particularly useful if you intend to use several packs on several different devices. You may encounter all of the templates being listed at the same time, and this is something that is platform controlled, not something that I can control. So that is why it is important to familiarize yourself with this. MyDeepGuide Curated Templates Volume 1 collection is now available on mydeepguide.com/shop, so you can head over there directly and you can see that there's like a bunch of different packages for different types of devices that you may want to use, but just please remember two very important things. First one, in the package that you purchase, you will get a total of 36 templates. That is 18 templates that I've shown here in portrait mode and 18 templates for landscape mode. The second thing that you need to keep in mind is to follow the guidelines and find the correct template that matches your device's specifications. If you are unsure, please do send an email at contact@mydeepguide.com to ask, so that you ensure that you actually purchase the correct version that is meant to be used with your device. And another point also to keep in mind, although I have already mentioned it, but just to make sure that you guys remember that, if you have multiple devices, you can use these templates on any device that you want and they will work perfectly fine, except that the main benefits that they offer, which is a constant 8mm line spacing or 4mm grid spacing, along with pixel perfect definition, those will be achieved only on devices that match the specifications of the templates that you are using. I hope that you enjoy using these templates on your devices, and as I already said, the remarkable versions are prepared, but the only way that I can actually successfully deliver them to an average remarkable user is now via the Remarkable Methods platform, because otherwise the installation for the Remarkable platform is like really kind of almost hacky kind of a thing, as the platform doesn't natively support custom templates, unfortunately. However, I will be trying to work on that the Remarkable users can also have access to this template collection. Please let me know in the comments down below what are your thoughts regarding these templates, and also, as I indicated, I have plenty more ideas for other volumes and other collections. So this is volume 1, just the essential ones, the most important and most useful ones for broad use case scenarios. I'm interested to hear from you as well. What are other types of templates that you might find useful, and if this is something that you are interested in or not. And finally, and most importantly, every purchase of any of the MyDeepGuide products on the mydeepguide.com/shop directly supports the independence and integrity of MyDeepGuide. So thank you very much for that. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye!